Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, welcome back to the drawing board. Officially, episode 3. The landmark is here. Uh, Joining me again today is Krish, and we have again a special guest. Joining me is Michael. So I'll let him introduce himself here.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Michael. I'm 2A software engineering at Waterloo, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
Sick, sick.
Cool,
Okay,
cool.
okay. So, for I guess the people watching, the viewers outside, um, Michael's a really cool guy. And so, just to start, Michael, do you want to share a bit about your story?
Sure. I guess this is a thing of the past now because I've kind of like put it behind me. But in high school, I was kind of grinding to be a professional league player. It's kind of a lot of people's dreams, I guess, when they play league. But I took it pretty seriously. I ended up reaching like challenger, which is like top 300, but my ranking was 287 before I quit the game entirely because I just gave up because I was coming to university, so I thought there was no point anymore. But I ended up playing in a few amateur leagues and playing with pros. I made some connections with some like other streamers, YouTubers, and pros, and yeah, it was just a pretty cool experience. But yeah, it's very much a thing of the past.
Yes.
Damn. So like, when you were like grinding, were you genuinely considering like if I get picked up by like TSM, like I might actually genuinely go pro, or is it just kind of like a thing in the back, like okay, like I'm gonna grind, but like my end is goal, like like it's still to get into Waterloo, or like do just like the normal university route?
Yeah, so at the time, my goal was I had it was kind of interesting. I had like my personal goal and I had like the goal that my parents wanted. Like my parents wanted me to go to school, get an education, like go to Waterloo, pretty much get into software engineering, and then just be a software engineer. But my goal, like that I wouldn't tell them because they didn't really support it, was like I wanted to be a pro league player, and if I ever got the opportunity, I'd take it. So like all in high school, I was trying to climb the ladder because that was like one of the main ways of getting recognized. So I like try to get challenger pretty much. So that was like one big aspect, and then another aspect was trying to get recognized through like the competitive scene. So in I think it was grade 11, I ended up joining like my first amateur team. It was called Wichita Wolves.
Shut up.
I found them on Discord. It was yeah, it was pretty weird. It's Wichita, but I don't even know where Wichita is. But yeah, so I ended up playing for them, and we ended up competing in like a few tournaments, like Masters Elo. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was only like after that first team experience when I really got a taste of like what it's like to be a pro. Because after that first experience, we were kind of all like masters. We weren't really too good. We were kind of just fooling around. But then once we got like a real coach and I got like other opportunities, like I had tryouts for this one team called Wildcard Gaming, and this was like a pretty professional team. On their main roster, they had ex like LCS players, and if you don't know, LCS is like the main like league for League of Legends, kind of like the NHL for hockey or NBA for basketball. So they had like ex LCS players and ex LCS coaches on the team, and that was like my real taste of like what it's like being pro and like what the routine is. It kind of consisted of like you wake up, you have to play a few solo queue games, then you get into like practices. So I ended up doing a bunch of like one-on-one practices with a bunch of teammates where we take certain matchups. So like I played mid lane. So let's say we were looking this week to play like Cassiopeia, or I was looking to play Cassiopeia because it was like strong in the meta. So what I do is we take like the other meta champions like Syndra, Oriana, whatever, and then I do like practice one-on-ones with them where we literally plan out the whole entire game from like the first minion wave all the way to like level 6 or like level 7, even level 10. Like crazy planning. So that was like I didn't really know it was that in detail and there's that much depth to like preparing to go pro, but it was a lot more than I expected. But I still think um, it's a really big commitment and it is a lot. But it was like one of my main goals, like trying to make it to like the pro scene or like even just play like collegiately like in university.
Like the funny thing is, Michael says like he was trash when he was diamond and stuff, and meanwhile they're like hard stuck in silver.
Yeah, the only other person I know who's even like close is one of our other friends, Francois. He hit like D4 after grinding. I mean, he didn't grind that hard, but he's like he's a lot better than any of us as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, it's crazy.
No,
So like what? Sorry to interrupt you, but what made you at the end of the day like choose to go to Waterloo or like to choose to go down to university instead of doubling down or telling your parents that you wanted to like go pro potentially?
it was actually interesting. So well, all throughout like high school, I pretty much like put all my or most of my I actually did two things. Like I put my extracurricular time towards coding, and I also put it towards like league. That those were, like the only two things I did in high school. And like my throughout all of high school, my parents are like very not supportive. Like I remember having conversations with my mom, and she would tell me like you have to go to school. Like it's the only safe way to like make money. Like very few people get selected to be like compete competitively, and she'd always like compare it to like NHL. She's like, only a handful of people play in the NHL, and a lot of people fail. So like I ended up choosing like the school route because it was like the safer route. Um, that was part one reason. Another reason was just like pressure from my parents. Um, Another reason was I also wanted like a new experience. Like I'd spent like my whole life playing League, and I've heard that like university was a lot of fun. Like university life is like a much different than like what I have had previously experienced just playing like 10 to 12 hours a day, in my room. So that's also part of the other reason why like I decided like, you know what, maybe like university I should like give it a shot, and then like if League works out, it works out like now like in high school, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that was kind of like another reason. I was kind of like I wanted to double down. Like I took it really seriously, but like it was primarily the pressure of my parents. Honestly, like I didn't want to disappoint my parents, and I didn't want them to be like, "Oh wow, we put in all this effort. Like you got into software engineering, and then you just like threw it all away to go play League of Legends, and then if it didn't end up working out, I feel like my parents really wouldn't be happy with it."
If you
Yeah,
were a
no,
parent,
that's completely fair.
if you were a parent, Michael, would you do the same thing?
Honestly, I don't plan on letting my kids play video
Whoa.
games
Wait, at all? Like
at all. I
outright?
think fully because like honestly, League of Legends started as an addiction for me. To be honest, like um, it's very like not a healthy cycle because they kind of get you trapped as like trying to achieve like a rank, which is what I was trying to do initially, um, which gives you nothing at the end of the day. It's just like online status that has no like value to it. And if you put that time into any other skill, you could actually get like some value out of it. Like if I put all that time into like playing an instrument, I feel like that'd be much more valuable than just like playing League of Legends. So like I don't plan on allowing like I wouldn't want my kids to play video games unless they were trying to like go pro. But in order for them to want to go pro, they would have had to play for a while. So yeah, I don't even plan on that happening. But let's say I was in that situation and my kid really did want to like go pro in League, and I understood it enough, then like I'd probably support it.
But like,
Wow, no, that's actually really surprising. Would you not say like obviously for you, since you always approach the game from a very competitive, like this is something I want to do potentially for a living side of it, and like maybe less so as like a social like just thing you do for fun, where like me and Krish, for example, like we kind of always approach League as like a social thing you do with your friends, just like fun to pass time and just like chat shit. So would you not say like you're potentially depriving your like the kid of that uh that aspect of gaming?
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm not sure about, but I feel like you can find that kind of fun in through other activities. Like for example, I think like one of the reasons why I did take to League is because like well, I'm kind of gonna be like throwing some shade on myself, but in like elementary school, like I would always try out for like the sports teams. So I never made the sports team, so I never got like that competitive nature that I really wanted. But like in League of Legends was a way that I could like express that and like get better on my own, and then be able to compete. Like I feel like there's many other ways that you can like be competitive and enjoy even just having like fun experiences, just like messing around, just like through other in-person activities that aren't as detrimental to your well-being. Because like the other problem that I see with video games is like it's a it's like a dopamine loop, you know? Like you play video games, see all these like flashing lights and colors, and it gets you like sucked in, and that becomes all you wanted to do. Like I remember describing to my mom, she's like why do you play so much like video games? And I'd say like that's all I want to do. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else. Like I'd much rather play video games than do anything. So it got like so bad for me to the point where like that is all I wanted to do, whether it was for competitive nature or like to compete or to not compete. So yeah,
you can look at it from two angles though, right? If there's something in the world that's all you want to do, sure it could be you're stuck in an addiction, or you could look at it as like this is your true passion and calling in life, and then you can end up actually pursuing it and probably being one of the best in the world. Like it's those people who are consumed by one thing who end up becoming like the greats, right?
yeah,
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to think of pushback because I feel like my initial reaction to it was very like wow like you wouldn't let him play like his kids play at all. But now that I'm thinking about it, like obviously to a lesser extent, but I remember like back in grade like it was like grade 10 or like beginning of grade 11, I can't remember, but it was like around lockdown. Like I also got in like this really vicious cycle of like I look back now and I think it was probably some sort of addiction in terms of like I like learned recently about like trying to like improve at league, like actively like playing like specific champions. You guys probably know of LS. I was like, I'm gonna grind Annie for like 500 games. I'm gonna get like 10 CS per minute. I'm gonna like solo kill my laner. You know what I mean? Like that like mindset. Of, like I genuinely really want to get good at this game, and like I would play upwards of like 8 9 games a day of just like constantly grinding, and like it was a vicious cycle of oh, okay, like I lost like 15 LP today, so that means I need to like play again tomorrow to like get back the LP I lost, and then keep climbing at the same time. Like it was like the vicious cycle, and I definitely see how Michael, like having gone through that himself personally, would want to save the kid from that as well.
Oh yeah, not only that, like just to add on to that, like the big like LP losses, those like to be honest, my LP gains and losses on a day would make or break my mood. Like my mom could tell when I was like not playing well because she said she could see that I was visibly upset and frustrated. Like it really impacted my mood. Like if I lost like 8 games in a row, which sometimes I went on really big losing streaks because I wouldn't stop playing, which is something that like I had to do. But I couldn't remove myself because I was just so attached. And I was like, I need to get it back. I need to get it back. I need to get it back. And I guess there's like kind of like related to gambling if you will, like where you always just want to try to make it back. But like my mom would say like yeah, like you look visibly like upset, or like if I had a good day then I'd have like a good mood, which I don't think is a good way to live your life.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's interesting. Like you refer to this like your entire League of Legends era as a past life, but would you like what's a new life now? If that was the past life, what's a new life tending towards?
The new life is different. I associate I really don't like I do talk about like oh like I got challenger, but there's a lot of things that like people don't see about like getting challenger. Like it was not a healthy cycle. Like I'd almost turn down any other opportunity to like even like to hang out with my friends. My friends would ask me to hang out. I'd be like, no, I can't. I have to grind league. I have to make it pro. Or like my parents were like, we're watching a movie. Come down. I'd be like, I can't. I have to like play league. And then if they would force me to, I'd get like very upset about it. So there's a lot of like I'm trying to like detach myself from like being super consumed and addicted into things and focus more on like the relationships because I noticed like I was very isolated at times because I only thought about like league and I'd only focus on the game. Like even when I was at school, I'd literally stare at my OPGG and think, okay, I'm this many wins away from like promoting. Or I'd just like watch Faker videos and try to like analyze what he was doing in this matchup. Like I found myself very isolated. So now I want to try to like focus more on like relationships and not like dopamine traps that are gonna take up all of my energy and all of my time and all my thought that at the end of the day mean nothing. So like I'd rather put my time into things that like have merit or have value, like instruments or school or just any of my other interests, like going to the gym and stuff.
Do you think that like this entire journey would have played out differently if like if it wasn't league? Like say for example, it's something that's equally difficult. Like say like you're trying to make it to like the league in basketball, trying to make it to the NBA. And like again, like maybe like your like talent level, your skill level isn't there. Like you're on the cusp. Like maybe you make D like you're making D1 maybe, and like there's a potential you get some like late draft pick over the I mean something like that. Like where like it's difficult for you to like go pro, but at the same time it's like you're infatuated by it to an extent where you can't do anything else. Do you think you would have behaved any differently, like you and your parents in that situation?
That's interesting. I definitely think my parents would behave differently because they didn't understand like esports because it's very new. So they thought I would just be like playing video games in my room. Like they didn't really understand what it was. So I definitely think my parents would support it if it was a sport. Also for like the physical activity, just like being active is very important. Like I was not active at all. I'd sit down 12 hours a day. Like so I think they definitely support it. For me, I see it as something that's very similar to like grinding League of Legends. There's more like benefits. Like obviously you get very fit, you get very in shape, you get very good like cardio. But I wouldn't do it. I don't think I think you're too consumed in that life that like you miss out on all these other things that are you can only experience once. That you might regret in the future.
Yeah, I guess another thing with like sports teams is like they kind of naturally force you into the relationship side of it, just because like it's quite a social environment, which is what from my understanding was one of the main things that you felt you missed out on by having a grind league like solo in your room. So I guess it does counteract that negative side effect, just by the fact you're around people always, coaches, teammates, whatever it might be.
Yeah, that is true. I guess it's also different because you can play League of Legends for 12 hours a day, but I don't think you can dribble a basketball for 12 hours a day. Like your body gets tired eventually, so
Interesting.
you have to take breaks.
Yeah,
Is there no like
But
mental
with League of
fatigue?
Legends, you don't have to. I even if I was mentally fatigued, I just push through it.
Yeah.
Like I literally just play music and push through it and just try to win
Do,
more games because it was also the
do you
addiction.
think that you
Yeah.
gain like
yeah.
any skills from this? Like I know you're a very tactical person in real life as well. Like you look at things very logically and rationally. Do you think you can attribute that to League or just your personality in general?
I'd like to think that like I'd hope that I gained some skills, but I don't think my logic or reasoning did come from League of Legends because most of what I learned came through like trial and error or talking with other people who gave me ideas that I kind of expanded on. I guess the parts that I analyzed on my own, maybe I gained some like critical thinking skills where I'd like say like, okay, why did he do what he did here? And I'd have to consider all like the other variables and factors. Like when I'd be watching like pro clips, I'd be like, okay, like why did he make this decision and why did I make another decision? Like I'd often do that and then try to like so I can like mimic their decisions. So I guess maybe I might have gained some skills, but I feel like if I put like a quarter of that time into any actual like problem solving exercises, I would have like I would have grown a lot
Oh,
more. I genuinely think it was a waste of time.
wow, that's insane.
Wow,
Okay,
yeah.
so I
But like it,
go ahead.
sorry,
No,
go
it's all
ahead.
you.
I was just gonna say like if it did work out, then it wouldn't be a waste of time. But the fact that I ended up quitting and dropping it made it an like utter waste of time. I wasted my high school years. That's how I see it, and I have a little bit of regret for
Oh
that.
wow, so you regret playing League at all, not quitting it.
Yeah, because I turned down so many opportunities, even just like make friends or be social. Like I was not social at all in high school. I didn't experience like all those, or I had like a friend group, but it was mainly just my friends I'd see in school, and then we just go online and then just talk online. Like I never really had like a very like in person social experience. I also don't know if like being that focused into video games made me like in high school more of like a shy person because I was pretty shy in high school. Like I don't know if that also impacted that because I wasn't like out and about more. I didn't like try out for sports when I think I could have done volleyball because I played a little bit of volleyball in high school. Like I didn't take those opportunities because I saw them all as taking away from league. Like that was kind of like my vision of like the world was like anything that I'm doing that's not related to league is a waste of time because like it's not helping me like achieve like going pro pretty much. So like I definitely don't see it in a
Okay,
good
so
way.
like a slightly
I think
related question that I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on is, do you think it's better to be a generalist or a domain expert in one field at the cost of not many other fields?
I definitely think a domain expert,
Hmm.
but I think everything just needs to be balanced. Like you just need to have a balanced lifestyle. That's why I'm not really too much of a fan of SC, and that's why I'm considering switching to CS. Is because like you can't. It's very difficult to have a balanced lifestyle. But I think it's okay to like put all of your energy into one like activity that has value and has merit. As long as you can maintain a balanced lifestyle, keep healthy relationships, and yeah, I think that's just important.
Mac, what do you think?
But the generalist question, I'd say yeah, like I think just because of the nature of the job market and the way that like society progresses, you kind of need to be like a specialist in one field to be able to have like a marketable skill. Like you can't just be like a guy who kind of does computer science and kind of does engineering and kind of does this and kind of does that. Like it's not really a marketable skill to be able to have skills in a lot of domains. It's important once you're in the domain to be able to uh, like synthesize ideas from external domains, but the core is still being an expert within one field, so more deep knowledge.
Yeah, there's this ideology that
But sorry, no, I was gonna just to comment again on the social thing. It's so crazy that for Michael it was the complete opposite of like he regretted playing League because it took away social opportunity from him, or he felt like he missed out on like relationships because of it. But like I'm not sure about you, Chris, but for me, like I met a lot of like my friends to this day is because we had that common connection of League. Like
yeah.
for example, like Francois, like the first time I met him, like we were in like Francois just like a good friend of ours, Michael by the way, and like the first time I met him, like it was like I think computer science, not computer science, but it was like it was like computer science, something like that lab, and like we were there and like we were just tinkering with the computers, and then me and Parth were talking about League, I think, and then Francois came over and was like, oh, you guys play League, and like then we come to like a friendship from that, and like it's like one of our closest friends to this day, and like not even that, but going forward with like Lokesh, Kute, like I think so many of my friends and like friendships were deepened because of
Yeah,
League,
Mac,
which is I mean it's such a contrast.
I think I even met you because of League, or I got close to you for sure because of League. Because I remember our friends put you in like a Discord server with me, and that's when we started talking about playing League. Like it was like more like gaming was this backbone of our friendship that regardless of where we were or what we were doing, we know that at some point we want a game, and so we would stay close to each other because of that.
Honestly, yeah, because I'm thinking about it now. Even to this day, like a lot of the like Fort Mac friends, like the only reason I still talk to them regularly is because we hop on for League or just like game, like something to do with gaming in general on Discord, and like we'll just talk. Because I feel like without that, I would have lost that. They're like we would still be friends because there's friends that I have that I don't play League with that I still talk to, but like the League connection like makes it so much stronger.
Michael, how?
Actually,
Oh,
if I could,
yeah, go for it.
sorry, I just wanted to add to that because actually I agree totally with what you guys are saying, but there's a slight like nuance. Like like my friend group in high school was built off playing video games with each other, and like that was like how we built our friend group. But there's a difference. Like because I was grinding to go pro in League, like I was not using League as a way to be social. I was using League as a way as like to try to go pro, if that makes sense. Like I would not play with my friends. I'd just choose not to play with my friends to play solo queue to try to climb. So like I definitely think that you can use video games as a social tool to like deepen your connections with friends. Cause I did do that. Like we'd play like random games. Like we'd play like Valorant with each other, or we'd play Overwatch with each other. But it just so happened that with League, I didn't use it in that social way. That's how it started actually. Like when I started playing League in grade 5, 6, 7, I would play with like my friends for fun. But then as soon as I started taking it seriously and I gave myself that timer, like by grade 12 I have to be pro or else I'm going to university. That's when like the switch flipped and I was all in like go mode where like it's like somebody asked me, oh, do you want to play a draft game with us? I just say no, like I can't. I have to play solo queue. Or if somebody asks me, like, do you want to play Valorant? Like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, I have to play League. So it was that's how like it made it kind of antisocial. But I'm not saying that like you can't use League to like build connections and build friendships. I just didn't use it in that way.
It's almost like a don't shit where you eat type of thing. Like if the point of video games is to be social, like don't take it as more than it should be.
Yeah, like separating like work and play in that sense, because like League became work because of that he lost out on the social aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I think I interrupted you earlier when you were asking about the generalist
Mhm.
specifics or whatever the other thing is called.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Sorry.
the reason I was asking that was because like it seems like Michael, you became like a domain expert at League. Like it was not like you were refusing to do anything else because of that. And my thought is like those like that is the right mentality to have towards something or anything. I'm not sure if clearly Michael you don't think like League was like productive like time. But like if you went pro then like it might have been. And so my ideology is that if you're gonna be like an expert domain and go all in on something, it almost doesn't matter what it is, because you're given that like special unique opportunity to just become the best in the world at it. Because like not as many like nobody else almost is going all in on something as much as you are.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I just saw that like going all in on League, if I'm not going pro, and if I would make that decision, would be like a waste of time. Like I understand like I could have that experience of just trying to be the best in the world or the best in North America at that game, but because I decided not to go pro, like all that time and that like energy spent would have been a waste of time. So it would have been like better spent like in something else that would stay with me for the rest of my life. Like if I wanted to like learn a language or like learn or like, get back into music or anything like that, even just like in school, just something that actually I could use for the rest of my life. Like I could never use my skills in League ever.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think the pushback there's like I think the domain does actually matter. Like obviously there's value to be had in pursuing one domain really deeply, but at the end of the day, some domains just are more valuable to society and to like
Mhm.
personal self development, and League isn't up there.
Yeah, it's true. Like
It's one of them. I
so
don't think.
something I was thinking about recently is like the entire speed cubing world is made up of kids who do it in their free time. And there's very few people who like train on speed cubing as much as like people like train or play League. And so my thought was like, well, if anyone just took like one gap year to just specifically train on this very niche topic, they'll become the best in the world. They have a couple of world records, and like, and that would be like an awesome experience to have for 1 year, and then you could go back to your regular life.
I'd say there are some skills where like actively trying to develop them. There's like a very steep uh point of diminishing returns in terms of like practice time. Like say for example, like recently I like tried to make my typing speed better. I noticed that like after like maybe like 15 minutes of practicing a day, like even if I did like multiple hours past that point, I wasn't actually getting any better.
Mm.
And that initial 15 minutes was like what was like the point where all the improvement actually occurred, and past that it was just like just going through the motions of it. And maybe you could like extend that a little bit by like very like actively focusing on trying to like notice mistakes or notice tendencies that you're doing. But I feel like speed cubing might be one of those things where like it like the point of diminishing returns is very like quick. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd be interested in like figuring
Yeah,
out
I don't know
like
if I see
serious
speed
technical
cubing as like
abilities.
very similar to like League in the sense. I don't really see it as like anything. In my personal opinion, like I feel like putting all that time to speed cubing would be like a waste of time in the sense that like I guess I think of things very like what can you like get out of it, I guess. So like putting all that time to speed cubing, I don't see yourself as getting any skills out of that. You know what I mean?
Right, but you get like so many stories. Like being one of the best in the world at anything, there's a as long as there's a community revolving around it, it just I feel like it feels like a story that's worth having in your repertoire to tell in the future, or just like know that you experienced it. Because if the end goal in your life is to be able to do a bunch of things, tell cool stories, to have experiences, why not just do that to start to begin with?
Yeah, from a stories aspect, it's definitely present. Like being able to like I don't know, like, tell your grandkids about like the fact that you're one of the best speed cubers in the world. Like that's definitely like interesting. And if your theory about like being able to just spend 1 year doing it and like becoming one of the best in the world is true, then yeah, potentially might be something worth pursuing. But again, like going back to Michael, like if it is something that we have to spend a lot of time, like it is with League, and you don't get that much like real life value out of it, it might not be worth like when you could be when you could be doing something else.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you've thought about this a lot, Michael, but we've talked about your past a lot. What about now? Like, what are you dedicating most of your time to this year?
Uh, this year, honestly, I want to focus on. Okay, so I have a few things. First thing I really want to focus on is the NFTGG project. I guess for the viewers, what we're pretty much making is like NBA Top Shot, where you take like a bunch of basketball clips, you make them into NFTs, and there's like a marketplace. I really want to make that for like Twitch and gaming because I feel like it's a pretty untapped market. So I really want to commit all my time into that, and then also like the other extracurricular that I'm doing with like a few other people here. Trying to make like a quant research team. So I'm pretty much just learning a lot about finance and economics in the market. That's pretty much where I'm putting, or I want to put most of my extracurricular time, because there isn't much extracurricular time anyways. So you know,
Is that like a reason you want to switch to CS?
yeah, that's one of the main factors. Because I'm not really able to do both of these and like commit like serious amounts of time to both of these extracurriculars if I'm an SE, especially if 2B is really hard and if 3B is also very challenging.
Yeah, I've heard both of you guys like talk about like not enjoying Waterloo SC as much as like you initially thought. Like, what is it about like the program that like turns you guys
Okay, well,
off
like
of it?
I guess like not doing a good job repping our programs. Um, First thing you should like keep in mind is grass is always greener on the other side. So we probably like
Yeah.
talk a lot of shit about like, oh, like I'm unhappy in my current program, but I think almost every uni student like does this at some point. Um, that being said, well, actually, Michael just like literally this morning did a debate about this. So I'll let Michael take this.
Yeah, actually, I I did a debate. I was debating that switching to CS would be better than staying in SE. But like some of the main things were honestly just free time, like being able to have not especially in semesters like 2B and 3B where it's expected that you commit almost all of your time to studying and just to like pass or be like okay. Like especially in those semesters, you have to kind of drop the rest of your life. And I feel like especially in a time like university, like we're only here for okay us like 5 years, others like students 4 years, but we're only here for 5 years. It's a very short period of our life, and we're kind of in like the prime of our youth, where we only get older from here. Like so, I don't want to like spend all these like prime years just studying when we have the rest of our life to kind of just like develop our careers. I feel like there's a lot more that you can do now in your youth that you won't have the ability to do when you're older. So I'm just
Exactly.
trying to like experience that
Like
now
go pro
and
in
then not
league.
regret. Yeah, no, I think I'm done with league. That was a thing in the past. Yeah.
um,
So I was gonna ask. So other than like, I guess like I'll put two questions in together here. But like other than like your ECs that you already mentioned about like specifically relating to tech, like is there anything like outside of those that like you're really passionate about, just like things you want to learn, things you want to potentially do that you think like you would miss out on by like being an SE or like having to commit so much time to this? And then also just like leading on past that point, do you see those ever going anywhere? And like where do you see yourself in like 5, 6 years time, or like in the
I
industry
guess
or
like
whatever?
I guess like some other things that I'm pretty interested in. The problem is like that I found is like being interested in things, um, and like having the time to do them is like two separate things. Like I was really interested in like music producing over the summer, so I was like looking into like how do you produce beats, but it takes a bunch of time to like actually learn how to produce beats, and like get that practice and experience. So even though I'm
Yeah.
interested in it, I don't have time to do it. And if I would commit all that time to producing beats, it would be taking away from like the stuff that I actually have to get done, like doing lead code or like building out projects or anything like that. So I guess like other interests, I don't really think I now have the time to like explore them in depth. But I guess some other things that I was just thinking about are yeah, literally just like music production, maybe like picking up like Italian, and then like I don't know, maybe playing volleyball again or something. But honestly, there's not really I don't see like a lot of value in like committing time towards that. And I guess to address your the other point, as like where I see myself in 5 years. In 5 years, I genuinely hope that I'm able to like develop um, like my own kind of like startup, because I'd like to like work for companies, but I feel like I'm gonna get that through co-op. And just coming off of first co-op, I wasn't like too enthusiastic about like working on all these projects that I didn't really care much about. So I feel like I'd find a lot more like drive if I had a project that I was super like passionate about, that that I could like commit all my time to. So I really hope that like that's where I see myself in 5 years, where I find a project that either I'm really passionate about that I get to work like for another company for in like a like more higher like position, not kind of just like a code monkey, or like I end up coming up with my own idea and my own project that I get to like commit all my time and resources to.
Yeah,
Is there a specific field of like tech that like
Um,
you're passionate about? Like Christian obviously has AI and like
less so field
tech
of tech,
stuff.
because the way I see tech is they're just like tools to do something. So it's less so like I'm really interested in
Mm,
this tool. It's more of like I'm interested in solving this kind of problem, or like addressing like this kind of
right.
market. So at the moment, I'm like pretty into like gaming, or that's kind of where I got this like NFT idea from, was because like all of my experience in gaming, I just like never saw like an opportunity. I've never saw any products like this existing, so that's kind of like why I got in there. So at the moment, I don't really have anything, or else I'd be like probably working on it. But I just want to keep like my options open and just keep thinking and like looking around and looking for different opportunities.
Yeah, for
actually,
sure.
Mohammed, I'm interested to hear your answer to the same questions.
About like what I like doing outside of my free time and like
Yeah,
just the
because like
5 year
you're
stuff.
going down the medical route. I know we talked about it a little
Yeah,
bit before, but I'm interested. Like,
yeah.
do you see yourself spending a lot of time on just like personal hobbies and passions, and like, do you see those going anywhere, or like is it the same like grind set for med school for you?
Mm, No, like for me, like the biggest benefit of being able to do science in undergrad is like, to be honest, I have too much free time. Like like I don't study that much because I'm just like kind of lazy. But like even if I was studying like enough, like I still have more than enough free time to be able to pursue those things. And like I do have a lot of things I'm like pretty interested in. But again, like for me right now, the biggest problem is I honestly I lack the discipline to like be able to follow through on my hobbies. Like I love like the idea of learning languages, and I've started it up like like a little bit. Like I would do like French for a bit, and then like Arabic for a bit, and like Spanish for a bit, and then like I'd stop doing, and then just stop doing them. So yeah, just trying to like consistently develop those things. Like learning languages is a big one. I got into chess a lot recently. Like I love I don't know, something about chess is just really
Yeah, I'll
enticing.
beat you in that too.
Um, yeah, dude, you've been muting me on that, bro. 1400, crazy. What else? I don't know.
Actually,
Yeah, also like I feel like I'm a lot into like I'm a lot more like I have a lot of like passions that I feel like are just like learning stuff, not necessarily like a skill, but like, I'm really into like not really into, but like I'm a lot more into politics than like most people my age or like our age especially are. So like I love learning about like economic theory and like the political state of different countries and like understanding history and how it all ties together. So that's one thing like I want to read more about that. Yeah, I don't know, just like I don't know, I just like learning, so just like different stuff in that domain. And like where I see myself in 5 years, I'd say like for me it's like pretty straightforward at this point. I'd probably be like I don't know, like third year, second or third year med school, depending on when I get in, assuming that like the plan of like getting in after fourth year. But for me, like I've like, thought about it recently a lot. Like I don't really mind how long it takes for me to apply because I know I want to do it like so bad. So like even if it takes me like 3 extra gap years just like doing research, I know at the end of the day like I wouldn't want to do anything else. So like it could potentially be in like 5 years time I'm still like doing like a master's, just like doing research on the side of with the goal of getting to med school one day.
Yeah, I also
Yeah.
I think you like earlier you touched on a really important thing, which is like it's very important to be the person that does things and not the person that wants to do things. And what I mean by that is like a lot of us have this like actually like almost all of us face this at some point in our lives, but it's like you just have like a ton of things that you want to do, but if you look at it objectively, you're doing almost none of them, in the sense that
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, like, I'd really love more time to do like this and this and this, but like when you're met with more time, you keep doing the same things that you're always doing, and so like
Yeah.
it's this mindset of being the person that does things. I think is like really powerful, and it's very simple as well.
Do you think that like being the person that does things comes down to discipline, or do you think there's like other factors?
Um, it has to be it. I don't know necessarily if it's discipline. Like I know people that try and build discipline. Like Michael, you said like you try and build discipline through going to the gym, but we talked about how that doesn't necessarily work. Just because you like
Yeah.
had discipline to go to the gym doesn't mean you have discipline to wake up for class in the morning. And so there has to be some notion of intrinsic motivation, and like that's why it's very important.
I I think it's like that you have to develop the skill of habit building because like discipline will obviously only get you so far. Like the fucking and like the David Goggin clips are like sick to listen to, but at the end of the day, nobody has enough willpower and enough discipline to like power through like 3 years of like consistently doing a habit. After a while, it does, or yeah. So after a while, it does come almost automatic. So I think it's discipline for the first like maybe I don't know like 30 days ish. Or like I mean, I guess it depends on what the habit is and how long it takes it to build habits. I was watching Andrew Huberman video the other day, and I think it takes anywhere from 18 to 254 days to build a habit, depending on the person and what habit it is. So yeah, so I'd say for that initial period, it's discipline, but past that point, it becomes like just the knowing the skill of what it takes to build a
I
habit.
like I don't know. I disagree. One reason probably being that like I don't think I've ever been able to build a habit that hasn't stopped at some point in my life. Um, maybe there's like soft habits like always learning or something, but um, like I fully believe that at the point where you can't see the bigger picture anymore, your intrinsic motivation is gone, and therefore like you don't want to do it anymore, and then you should just stop. Like I think it's a game of finding out like what you will like doing for most of the time, and then discipline comes like maybe like discipline only becomes useful in the very like what should be very small spurts of times where things aren't going your way, but other than that you should enjoy doing it every step along the way, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like you need to have that North Star of like why it is you're doing this thing to begin with. Like, say it's like going to the gym, like that North Star of like having like a really like sick gym body and like going to the beach and like damn, like this guy's jacked. I don't know, like whatever it is for whatever person, right? But that North Star will only like guide you so far. Like even if something you absolutely love doing, right? There'll still be a lot of days where you kind of have to just like begrudgingly get through it because you know it's good for you.
One thing that I'm curious about is like a lot of people always say like you have to do what you enjoy, you have to do what you love. How do people define what they love? That's what I don't understand. Like, how is it that someone says, "Oh, I love this, and I only love this kind of thing"?
I guess it's like a discovery process. Like for me, like there's only like a couple things in my life so far that I've found that I really like enjoy. Like for me, like I stumbled across like creative process of like video editing and like like the process of like coming up with ideas and like having them turn into like some sort of video project is something that I really enjoyed when I like tried it the first time, and like to this day it's still something that like I don't mind doing ever because it just feels like the time goes by so quickly when I'm doing it. I think that might be like a good metric. It's like you don't it doesn't feel like work when you're doing it.
Because I was wondering if it was just like,
Have you guys?
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like, have you guys found anything like that, like where you feel like you're doing it, but it doesn't feel like work at all? And you feel like the time's just going by and you're enjoying it, even though like to somebody on the outside might look like work.
Yeah, I think like to me most of the things that are like that are always gamified. Like sports have never felt like work. Like and I could put in like insane hours and play some sports and like it'd be fine. Um, even things like speed cubing, like it's honestly like pretty primitive. Um, or like it's trivial like things to do, but they never feel like work. Um, there's been times in my life where like coding like coding something that I'm really really passionate about doesn't feel like work. Recently, like it's felt like work, but it's enjoyable work. Like I smile while I'm doing it, but I understand like this is something that I have to do for like um to achieve the goal that I want to.
Yeah.
I found that I've noticed the same thing with coding, where like if I'm super involved in a project and I really want to see it completed, like I can confidently put like 12 hours a day every day until it's done, just because I want it to be like done. But honestly, I haven't really found anything that I'm super passionate about. Um, I don't think I've found it yet. It's kind of just been like cycles of stuff where I've like I was passionate about it and I lost interest. Like when I started playing video games, like that was something that I even when I was a kid, just playing video games for fun with like my brother. Um, that was something that like I could just do all the time, and I'd get upset when my parents would say, "No, you have to stop playing now." Or that's really the only thing that I can think of where I was truly like fully like immersed in something and enjoyed it like to the fullest extent.
So like here's an important question I guess to answer is it essential to find this one passion that you're gonna do for the rest of your life? Because it like I doubt that any of us see ourselves doing the exact same thing every day for the rest of our lives. However, like that could be like a feature where you don't have to find a true passion, but you have to find things that you're willing to work on for like spurts of like many years or even like a decade, which like isn't that long in the fullest of life. So I'm wondering what your opinions are on that.
Yeah, I think for a lot of things, like even if you're extremely passionate, like regardless of actually regardless of what your passion is towards like the craft itself, a lot of it comes down to your internal state while you're doing it, and the relationships and like environment you build around it. So like you could like completely hate what like the job itself that you're doing, but because of the fact that you're going in there with the mindset of like, this could be enjoyable, or I'm gonna find things in this I'm gonna enjoy, and you enjoy the people you're doing it with, it becomes something that you don't mind doing.
Yeah, I think the community plays a really big aspect into it. If you yeah if you really enjoy the people you're working with and you enjoy like spending the time, then I feel like that's almost more important as important as like the work you're doing.
Yeah, I'd agree. What do you say,
Yeah,
Krish?
I don't know.
You
Like,
think?
I think I'm still trying to figure this one out for myself. I'm not sure if I have a good answer. Like, currently, what I'm think currently like the two schools of thought that I had was like you should spend time wandering, and then once you find something you want to make a big bet on for like 6 7 years, you do that and only that, and then once that like has a proper end, you wander again. um but that seems like a waste of time. Like I feel like it's better to paralyze in the sense that like you just do like the thing that you're the most interested in at that time, and spend like 10 to 15% of your time still exploring at all times, and if you just find something better, just switch, like hop ship immediately, and it seems like one thing will stick.
I
But I
don't
don't know
know.
if Ocean's right.
Yeah,
I don't think that
I think that's
I don't
a
know.
good
I don't
answer.
really think that's too productive. Like I found like with me, for example, with coding projects, right? I'd be super invested in coding this one project, and I'd lose interest in a week, and then hop onto another project, then work on it for like a week, and then lose interest and hop onto another project. Like I feel you need some sort of like long term commitment, or else like if you spend all this time hopping from like thing to thing to thing, like you'll never actually like develop your skills and like put the time in that's required to like
But how many
experience it.
iterations have you done that for, Michael? Like how many times have you jumped projects and then like started to work on another project immediately and not just like take a break?
But yeah, I guess it wasn't like immediately, but like when I had that like mindset and didn't wasn't focused on finishing the project, I often found I was like less productive and yeah,
'Cause with
not as
my
committed.
experience, have you guys all heard of the sunk cost fallacy, Michael?
I
Yeah.
haven't.
Right. Okay. So I'll explain it. The idea is that even though you might have spent a lot of time, effort, like resources into a thing in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's logical to continue doing that thing. For example, if you made a YouTube channel and you were working hard on it for 1.5 years and you only have 100 subscribers, because you put all that time into it doesn't mean that you should continue doing it. Like if you're not enjoying it anymore and clearly you're not growing as a YouTuber, you should stop. Like that's actually the logical thing to do, even if you put the 1.5 years into it. Um, another like another thing is like it's like the gambler's dilemma, where like you could keep going and you could be on the edge of something great, or you could just stop. And like so, this fallacy basically says that continuing to go is the wrong decision.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act. I think what it comes down to is like, I mean, it's personal, but like it has to be like you have to have like the wherewithal to follow each project through to some point of completion in terms of like you might start to see some benefit of doing it, but at the same time be willing to just like take it behind the barn and shoot it if you think that it's done its course. Like I've wandered for like enough here, and like it's like it's just not giving me anything of value, and like potentially even come back in the future and like revisit
Yeah,
it. In the words of Yasuo, the wanderer isn't always lost.
No way, bro.
that was a good quote. I guess it also depends on like what the purpose is. Like if you have like an actual purpose of completing the project, then you can't just like flop on it. But if you're just exploring and just trying to find new things that seem interesting, then it's okay to not really be committed because at the end of the day, you're just exploring, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're like way over time.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing as like an idea I had, I saw it on the Diary of a CEO podcast. But Michael, do you have like so the way it works basically is you ask a question and then we ask that question to whoever the next
Oh,
podcast
that's
guest is,
sick.
like whatever whoever's on next
Oh,
week. Yeah, they're gonna answer the question and then they're gonna ask a question for the next person after that. So like, what question do you want to ask? Just like throw it like into the wind,
oh,
whatever. It doesn't really matter
question.
what it is.
Uh, I guess I'll make it related. Actually, I guess I won't make it related to gaming because I can't assume that like everybody plays games. But it's actually a tough one. I don't know. I don't really have any questions off the
I
top of
mean,
my head, but
it can be like. I mean, if you can't think of one, it's fine. But like, if it can be like whatever. Like the episode that I watched, the guy, I believe the question was like, when was the last time you cried? I mean, it can be deep or it can be like,
Like, be like, what
it
was
can
your
be
last
whatever.
Starbucks order?
If you can't answer, it's
Doesn't
fine.
matter.
I guess I guess like what cuisine do you think is the best in the world?
Okay.
Because
Wait, Michael, do
alright, perfect.
we get like Michael to answer that one before he goes, or like he doesn't answer it?
I don't think. I mean, I can't remember what. I mean, you can
Actually, no,
answer if you
don't
want.
answer it. Like we'll just do a continuation thing.
Sure.
Yeah, we're gonna blue ball the audience. We don't.
Okay, pause the recording. Ask
They're on their edge of their seats actually.
You just pause it. Just pause the recording. Trust.